position as government is that this is not the opportune time to discuss amendments to the Constitution.
To go for a referendum or not, referendum debate gathers momentum.
And a looming health crisis as doctors resign from county hospitals.
Kemunya takes plea on fraud charges leveled against him.
And drama as a coffin stuffed with a dead cat is dropped at a man's compound in Kisumu.
This is KTN Prime with Nancy Kachungira and Ben Kitili.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to a new week here on KTN Prime. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Our sign language interpreter is William Silla.
Many thanks for joining us on the program. And news just in. Security agents in Mombasa are currently holding 2 suspects after the police intercepted a vehicle carrying explosives into the town.
The vehicle was intercepted in Changamwe following intelligence reports and has been taken to the Mombasa Police headquarters.
All police are currently seeking to establish the source of the explosives and their intended destination.
Specialized security forces, including the military and anti-terror police, have also joined in the investigations.
The Mombasa Police headquarters is also under heavy police protection. This as police presence in the town, key installations has been increased.
Mombasa County Commander Robert Kitur confirmed the incident and said the 2 being held are of Kenyan and Somali origin.
News just in there. We are trying to follow up the developments for you and we shall be keeping you updated. Let's now bring in the county commander of Mombasa, Robert Kitur, to just tell us the latest. Mr. Commander, what do we know so far?
We apologize for that. Looks like we lost that connection, but we'll be trying to reach him later. Let's move on now. A tough-talking government has dismissed calls by some legislators to amend the constitution through a referendum.
Deputy President William Ruto is asking leaders to go back to the drawing board and review the solutions to Kenya's current challenges.
Here's Asha Mwilu with that report.
As a section of politicians develop their plot to send Kenyans into yet another constitutional referendum, the presidency says the timing is off.
This is not the opportune time to discuss amendments to the Constitution. County governments are only 1 year old. We've had challenges, but these are challenges that we will overcome.
The deputy president is criticizing a proposal by Mwingi Central MP Joe Mutambu to change the structure of devolved governments. Ruto, who attended a deputy governors forum in Naivasha, dismissed Mutambu's proposed bill seeking to reduce the number of counties from 47 to 10.
When we created counties, we doubled our wage bill. All right? I am not against devolution. And I'm not saying that we cannot devolve with less units. We can do it better and effectively.
There is no option. Devolution must succeed. We'll go out of our way, work with those who want devolution to succeed, and ensure that those who have other ideas do not impede or put hurdles on the way to the success of devolution.
Governors, on the other hand, want a referendum to increase the county allocation.
45% ya pesa ikuje mashinani na tutaanza signatures ya referendum.
You have, as we are talking, between 40 and 50 billion shillings waiting for county governments. As national government, we wait for money. As county governments, money waits for county governments.
But even with that resounding statement from the government, legislators know that the bill can still sail through. Women representatives have now gone into panic mode over the bill that seeks to reduce the number of MPs to just 141. That means that the women representative positions would be scrapped out.
Women are really coming up and they really need to be given an opportunity. And this was the platform from the drafters of the Constitution to give women a chance to prove to be leaders.
If you are creating a special seat for a woman, create also a special seat for a man. Because you are saying what a man can do, a woman can do better actually.
We will chew gum as we scale the stairs, and we will not bite our lips, and we will not stumble.
It's no doubt that the ongoing debate over proposals for a constitutional referendum will send political circles into heavy lobbying. Though the process of initiating a referendum is watertight and rigorous, observers say that Mutambu's bill could garner the 2/3 support in Parliament. Ashamwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
So there you have it. The Deputy President says it's too early to judge devolution. What do you think? Do you agree? That's our big question this evening. We're asking you whether you think that the Constitution should be amended.
Very key issue for Kenyans. Tell us what you think. SMS your yes or no response to the number 22155. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. The handles are at Ben_Kitili, at Kachungira, and at KTN. And I shall be sampling those views as well as give you the poll results at the tail end of this live newscast. Let's now bring you to that developing story where security agents in Mombasa are currently holding 2 suspects after police incarcerated 2 suspects and a vehicle carrying explosives in Changamwe in Mombasa County. Let's now bring in the county commander of Mombasa, that is Robert Kitur. We lost him earlier. Bona Commander, what do we know so far?
Yes, it is true that we have arrested 2 suspects in connection with those kind of bombs, and they are in our custody.
Yes, sir. I don't know if you can tell us some more information. What kind of explosives have the police been able to incarcerate?
Thank you very much. These are the IED. These are the bombs which are improvised. And this one can make some destruction. In fact, there are 2 in number.
Yes. And what kind of security measures of police have you been able to take in the county of Mombasa following this discovery?
All along, security is very tight. We are always on high alert. We have been following this kind of stories. It was only today that we have arrested these suspects, 1 a Somali and 1 a Kenyan.
Mr. Commander, can you just give us, finally, any kind of information that that the police were able to have prior to this apprehension?
We heard that this communication between these suspects and others in Somalia, we got this information from our intelligence network, and we are following this suspect. Finally today, we succeeded, and we have arrested this suspect. They are in our custody.
Thank you, sir. That is the County Commander of Mombasa, Robert Kitur, with that developing story where security agents in Mombasa are holding 2 suspects after the police intercepted a vehicle carrying explosives. What the County Commander is telling us is there are IEDs, and we shall be keeping tabs on that story to just give you the details as soon as we get them. Now, in other news, health services and some county public hospitals have been greatly affected following an ongoing doctors' exodus, which is attributed to a row between county governments and doctors. Dozens of doctors have resigned from public hospitals in the counties, citing delayed salaries and micromanagement by county government officials. KTN's Angel Katusi reports.
A crisis is looming in public hospitals in several counties. Since January, an exodus of doctors from county health centers is slowly affecting the quality of healthcare in health facilities. An exodus attributed to a row between the doctors and the county government. At the Moi Level 4 Hospital in Voi, several medical practitioners are said to have resigned in the last 1 month. It has become a routine here for patients to be kept waiting for hours before they are attended to. This is just one of the hospitals in Taita Taveta County where about 8 doctors have resigned from different health centers.
Tangu tumekuja hapa kupima damu, tunaendelea kungojea majibu mpaka saa hii, kwanza tukuje saa 3. Nangoja majibu yatoke.
Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union says their database indicates 140 doctors have resigned from public hospitals in the last 3 months.
The doctors that you talk to, most of them is just because they don't really have an opportunity. But if they were to get anything to do, they would just leave.
KPMDU says since provisions of health services was devolved against their strong opposition, the members have been complaining of delayed salaries, confusion in disbursing the salaries, allegations of threats from county government officials, and micromanagement by county health officials. This has consequently forced many doctors to quit their jobs.
If this situation continues unchecked, then we are staring at a possible collapse of the health system in the country. And looking at the way this country has been handling things, is that we wait for a crisis to happen.
According to KPMDU, Embu and Coast are among the hardest hit by the exodus. 14 doctors working in Embu have already resigned. KPMDU says 97 doctors have not been paid their January and February salaries, with the majority of those affected coming from Uasin Gishu and Nakuru counties. It is a row that has had doctors shift to the private sector. Others are neglecting their duties at public hospitals to work in their private clinics. In Kiambu, Governor William Kabogo has warned doctors neglecting their duty stations of dire consequences, even as he called on the national government to allocate more funds to enable counties to pay the doctors better.
We want to plead with the National Assembly to probably make a law that a doctor can only serve in one hospital.
Early this year, doctors downed their tools for 2 weeks to protest the devolution of health services. Doctors also demanded the devolution of health services be based on a clear legal infrastructure. Angel Katusia, KTN.
Let's head to the courts now, where former Cabinet Minister Amos Kimunya has been freed on a 1 million shilling cash bail after he denied fraud and abuse of office charges that were leveled against him. Kimunya was arraigned at the Milimani Law Courts today to answer to graft charges, as had been ordered by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, last week. Here's Betty Kialo with those details.
Amos Muhinga Kimunya appeared before Acting Chief Magistrate Doreen Mulecho to respond to charges of abuse of office and fraud. He appeared before the court alongside his co-accused Lilian Jenga and Janghe Wainaina. The three are accused of failing to protect public property and illegally disposing public land. State Counsel Lilian Obuo told the court that the accused used their offices to improperly award 25 acres of public land worth 60 million shillings to Midlands Limited, a large-scale potato handling and processing company of which Kimunya was a director and a major shareholder. The land in question is said to have been part of a 75-acre property belonging to the Ministry of Agriculture that had been reserved for crop development. Following these developments, a section of leaders have advised the Nyandarua County government to declare Midlands Limited unfit to conduct any business with the county until its name is cleared of any form of corruption. Officials from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission had been investigating the issue since last year, when a complaint was lodged with the commission leading to Kimunya's arrest on Friday. Kimunya, through his lawyer, paid 1 million shilling cash bail, awaiting mention of the case slated for Monday, the 24th of March, when the hearing date will also be set. Betty Kialo, KTN.
And next tonight, we bring to your attention a rather serious environmental problem. Can you imagine a world in which your children or grandchildren only know about rhinos from books and movies? Well, it's not that far away if the trend continues, as we see some very, very disturbing statistics. Several rhinos have actually been killed inside Nakuru National Park. In fact, almost 5 rhinos were killed just last week. And if you were on social media, you might have seen that picture that conservationist Paula Kahumba did post of a rhino who was killed just 2 days ago. Now, there's a population of black rhinos in Africa of just about 3,100. And from the year 2007, it actually seems that rhino poaching has gone up almost as much as 50 times. Now that's a very, very sad number. There are only 4 northern white rhino in Kenya and 2 in captivity elsewhere. So that's a very, very small number, and it's getting smaller, obviously, in Southeast Asian markets. And this, of course, is part of the problem. In the black markets, a rhino horn is actually worth more than gold, cocaine, and heroin. That's where the problem is. They're making a lot of money off this trade. Now, when we look at the facts that fines in Kenya, according to the new laws, can go up to 232,000 shillings, $232,000, and along that, prison terms of up to life sentences, you have to ask yourself, why is this trade so rampant? Well, that's a question many people are asking, and it brings us to our picture of the day. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, here's one that we actually found on Twitter, and we got this courtesy of Intuitive Gal 1, and it's one that got about 358 retweets. So we think this is pretty hopeful in terms of people paying attention to this situation and wanting to do something about it. This is actually a picture of a ranger, and these are orphaned baby rhinos that he's actually taking care of. And we think that's just a lovely picture, but it's also a way to highlight this very, very serious problem. However, things are being done about this, and most recently Howard Buffett, that's Warren Buffett's son, contributed about $24 million to South Africa to help with curbing this crisis. And also in June, the United Nations Environment Assembly will be meeting in Nairobi to discuss how to curb the international trade of rhino horns and other forms of poaching. So that's our picture for today. A picture is worth 1,000 words. If you think you found a picture that can tell a whole story, well, do let us know. You can tweet us at KTN Kenya. Use the hashtag 1,000 words.
Yes, indeed, it is a big story, very serious problem. There are rhino poaching, with so many questions arising, especially on social media, on how to contend the international market for rhino horns. And is it time the state puts these endangered animals in protected areas like zoos? A conversation that, of course, we shall be looking at later. Now, an education ministry official woke up to a bizarre discovery after a tiny coffin was dumped in his compound in Kisumu West constituency. For the 4th time in a year, Elias Oganda found a coffin with a dead cat inside, carefully laid out like a dead person, apparently to send out a chilling message. KTN's Fred Omulo brings us this bizarre story.
Oganda had gone out of his house to answer a call of nature at around 11 p.m. only to discover a suspicious-looking package. It wasn't the first time he had encountered this, and he knew the contents were definitely gruesome.
It was last year in July, that is on the 16th. That was the first day somebody brought a coffin inside my home. And it was a coffin with a live cat, which was also had a tie, and some stud, and some cowrie cells put around, and an egg spotted with blood. So I brought in the parish priest.
In the 3 previous incidents, Oganda had found a threatening note warning him not to destroy the paraphernalia, but after burning the material, a new coffin with another dead cat would always turn up. He therefore decided to summon his neighbors for prayers, the police, and even a local witch doctor who may understand what was happening.
Hiyo mambo niliona leo. Haki nilikuwa nasirika ati kitu gani nilifanyia watu ya Kanyawegi. Hii land ni ya Fadhe, tena jina ya Fadhe ndio iko. hata kama iko na deni ya watu ya Lisuka, siwaniambia nilipe.
Nimesikia mbaya kabisa, kwa maana kama hii itendeke kama namna hii, narudisha jina yetu chini kabisa. Narudisha jina yetu chini kabisa, na sisi hataki namna hiyo.
After the police arrived armed to the teeth, the tiny coffin was carefully opened to reveal its contents. A dead cat wrapped in burial linen covered in bloodstain. Despite the repeated harassment, Oganda insists that he has no disputes with anyone and cannot understand why he is becoming the target of black magic. The witch doctor who had conducted his rituals within the house simply said the culprit is a neighbor to the homestead. From Kisumu County, I am Fredo Mulo.
It's a rather macabre tale. Well, she is one of the most prominent women in Kenya, appointed to serve in very powerful positions, both nationally and internationally. We're talking about Ambassador Amina Mohammed, the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs. She was born in 1961, and Ambassador Amina Mohammed is a lawyer and a diplomat. She has served as chairwoman of the International Organization for Migration and also in the World Trade Organization General Council. She was appointed Deputy Executive Director of the United Nations Environmental Program by Ban Ki-moon and served as the permanent representative for the Kenya diplomatic mission in Geneva. But aside from her glowing career profile, Amina Mohammed is a wife and a mother of 4 children. She exclusively lets us in on her journey to the top, as well as who she is away from the public eye. You certainly do not want to miss this exclusive interview with a powerful lady tomorrow on KTN's Morning Express between 7 and 8 a.m.
Let's go to that debate on whether we should, or rather the country should, amend the constitution through a referendum. That was the basis of our big question tonight. We were asking you simply, should the constitution be amended?
Yes, let us know whether you think it's too early to judge. That's if you agree with Deputy President William Ruto, or you think it's about time. And you can do that by tweeting us. My handle is @Kachungere. Also tweet Ben @Ben_Kitili and add @KTN Kenya to that. Or you can also SMS us. 22155 is the number. Do begin with a yes or a no and add a comment to that, and we'll be looking at what you have to say during this bulletin.
While you're watching KTN Prime, many thanks for staying with us. We'll take a quick break, but don't go too far. We'll be back shortly with more news.
After the break, we bring you the very latest on Turkana insecurity.
You're watching KTN Prime.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us.
Let's now take you to the north, and calm has returned to Kakong village in Turkana County after a cattle raid that resulted in the death of at least 4 people. This follows a series of meetings between the locals, leadership and the security officials in the area. There was tension after the Saturday night raid that led to confrontation between the police and the residents. 2 people were killed in the raids while another was shot dead by the police during the morning demonstrations. The area member of parliament now wants the GSU officers alleged to have shot the resident to record a statement. 10 people have so far died in recent weeks as a result of the raids. Police say they are searching for the 3,000 cattle and goats stolen, allegedly by members of the neighboring Pokot community in the Saturday raid.
Now, we did introduce you to the 500 men living in caves. That was yesterday. And tonight, KTN's Kamche Menza brings you the story of their wives and children who are leading entirely separate lives in another part of Gilgil town.
Oljorai Area Chief Mark Cheroitich says after the introduction of free primary education, together with other leaders, he evacuated children in the Utut forest and forced them to join schools. Afraid of letting their children cover a distance of about 30 kilometers, some mothers opted to rent houses at the nearby Kongasi Center to live with their young ones.
Zingine tunakuja area hii tunakimbizana area hii tunatoa watoto mpaka sasa wenyewe wamekubali walete ndio unaona wengi wao wana mabibi hao.
You get a 13-year-old kid coming to class 1. You admit such a kid but thank God they would catch up.
Kongasis Primary School registered 115 pupils from Utut, while Oljorai admitted 100 pupils. But most of the children still live in abject poverty. Here, only 9 have sponsors. The rest depend on their parents.
I think those children are underfed. And if you get close contact with those children, you'll notice that some of them are even malnourished. So unakuta huyo mtoto survives only at one meal. When we tell them to maybe to come with the packed lunch, we even check. And you find some of them have nothing. You ask them, kwa nini hujabeba chakula? The child will tell you, mwalimu, honestly, there was nothing at home.
Meet Charles Chepkonis and Joseph Kipchumba's sons and daughters. Their life here is a bit different as they can now mingle with others and also sit in class and learn. They are among the children from Utut Forest.
Napenda shule sababu tunasoma vizuri, walimu ni wazuri, kila kitu ni mzuri tu. Nyumbani nilikuwa tunakaa hivi hivi. Mama akanileta shule, nilifurahia sana. Niliposa nikasoma, nikaendelea masomo. Nafurahia shule sana.
This is what Kipchumba's wife and children call home at the center, and they pay 500 shillings as rent just to ensure that their children attend school.
Sasa tukaweza kuomba nyumba, na hiyo nyumba tena kuomba tunaambiwa tulipe. Sasa tunaenda tukitafuta, kama msee akipata anakuja kulipa, hata mimi nikipata ni hapo. Sasa tukaweka watoto shule hapa. Nilikuwa na watoto 7. Sasa hiyo watoto wamesoma lakini wameenda wote. Wengine anaona maisha imekuwa ngumu, anaolewa anaenda.
These parents usually work around here. They are just peasant farmers.
According to Kongasis head teacher Joseph Njeru, the school community had difficulties in accommodating the children from Utut as most of them suffered a skin infection.
Initially we had a great fear because we thought the infection was contagious. And we had to give the child some amount of leave out, call the parent, counsel the parent, and then we advise the parent to take the child to hospital, and the child has to be brought back after maybe recovery, because we had that great fear that the disease could be contacted from one child to another.
Hata saa hizi bado kuna wengine huko. There are still some ambao hawajatoka wote Utut.
To a certain extent, children from Utut Forest have been forced to live this way until a solution is found to their parents' land problem.
Hiyo shida iko na serikali inaijua, na kila wakati tunapeana ripoti kuona kwamba vile watasaidika. Tulikuwa na mkutano na watu ya National Land Commission na tuliwaambia kwamba hiyo shida, na tukakuwa na baraza pamoja na hao, na kile kitu ambayo walisema ni kwamba hao wananchi waishi tu pale, ndio baadaye tutakuja kuona vile wataweza kusaidika.
Kamchemenza, KTN from Nakuru County.
Thank you, Kamche. Now, Mandera County is calling on the world to tap into the vast potential of the county and invest in it. Mandera Governor Ali Rob made the call to investors while paying a courtesy call on the Standard Group, where he announced his county will be holding an investment conference next month. Governor Rob urged all investors to attend the conference as it is the only opportunity to explore different investment opportunities available in the region.
We are hosting an investors conference in Mandera on the 26th and 27th of April. And because of our strategic location, geographical positioning, Mandera is a gateway to Ethiopia and also Somalia. And in terms of market, you're looking markets that is far beyond Mandera County boundaries into southern Somalia and southern Ethiopia from where we are. And as such, we believe we have a lot to offer to the nation, and we will be running the opportunities that will be there in that investors conference and the mode of engagement between the potential investors and ourselves.
Next, we head over to our business studio. Bonnie Tunya is standing by with the latest in the world of business. Good evening to you, Bonnie.
Right. Good evening, Nancy. There's a lot in store coming, but also we have a bit of bad news coming from East Africa Breweries that is set to lay off 100 members of its staff, so do stay tuned.
African Breweries staff laid off as company restructures.
Good evening, my name is Boni Tunya and this is KTN Business. Now the reality of Kenya's heavy taxation on local farms has started biting. Kenya Breweries over the weekend announced a staff rationalization process that will see close to 100 members of its staff being sent home. Here's KTN's business editor Joseph Bonyo with that report.
While releasing its half-year financial reports late last month, East African Breweries Limited Chief Executive Officer Charles Ireland alluded to a restructuring program on some of its line business.
The Senator business is not sustainable, but what we've done is we've cut the price to try and keep the outlets trading whilst we evaluate our options.
This, while the company defended will not lead to any job loss, sent clear signals to the market that tax elements in the 2013-2014 financial bill had started hitting home. On Thursday 13th, Kenya Breweries Managing Director Joe Muganda held a town hall meeting with staff at which the planned rationalization was announced. The full extent, he added, would be known to them on Saturday the 15th of March. In a copy of the redundancy letter seen by KTN Business, affected staff are to be given 1 month's notice effective 15th of March. Sources have, however, intimated to KTN Business that some of the affected employees are already seeking legal redress. Additionally, the sources added the over 100 staff members were mainly from the supplies and sales departments. But in an email correspondence with us, KBL Corporate Relations Director Eric Kiniti noted that the rationalization was in tune with the firm's periodic strategic review. In its latest financial reports, a combination of new taxes and stringent alcohol consumption regulations saw EABL announce the slowest first-half sales growth in 4 years, signaling its intention to slash costs to protect its bottom line. Joseph Bunyo, KTN Business.
Let's now have some good news, and Kenya is positioning itself to capitalize on the 87 billion shilling market available for Kenya produce in the Seychelles. The island nation, which is heavily dependent on tourism, fishing and imports 90% of its food. Now the Ministry of Tourism, Commerce and ESC says Kenya will be signing a bilateral agreement with the country, primarily to increase Kenya's exports of meat, vegetables and manufactured products. Kenya had also, or rather is hoping the vast tourism industry in Seychelles will absorb some of the highly trained professionals in the Kenya's hospitality sector. On his part, the Foreign Affairs Minister for Seychelles said Kenya's close proximity makes the country a natural partner, while Kenya's focus on tourism could provide an opportunity for joint marketing, which would be beneficial for both countries.
We've agreed that we will work on that bilateral agreement to see areas where we can collaborate. Indeed, we are neighbors, and there's so many areas that we could actually, collaborate so that we can increase trade.
When we're looking at new markets, whether it be in the Far East, or in China, or in the Middle East, we have to offer innovative products, and products which are grounded in our cultural traditions. And this is where Kenya and Seychelles can offer a unique mix. We can offer things together that we could not offer individually.
75% of Kenyans believe that Chinese investments, or rather investment by Chinese company, have a positive impact in this economy. Now, this is according to a survey on perceptions of Chinese business in Africa carried out by the Ethics Institute of South Africa and Global Impact and Network Kenya.
The survey carried out last year in 15 African countries shows that Africans are happy with Chinese investment in the continent, but fault the Chinese on environmental and social responsibility. The overall assessment in terms of reputation, quality of products, and environmental responsibility of Chinese business in Africa is more negative than positive. However, the study also reveals that Africans felt that Chinese businesses were reliable and were contributing to job creation on the continent. The respondents, largely from Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa, further questioned Chinese business practices and provisions of the decent work conditions. A recurrent accusation in a report that has been quality of infrastructure projects carried out by the Chinese companies, which many feel are not up to par in terms of quality. Though respondents have also expressed fear of poor quality products from China flooding the African market, African traders have countered this by traveling to China to buy genuine goods. Chinese businessmen in turn have complained of harassment at the hands of local police and are often asked for bribes. Commenting on the report, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers remarked that China had offered stiff competition for local manufacturers, hence the government should encourage the use of local products whenever local manufacturers have the capacity.
Now, the next story tries to explain why you're paying more for fuel. The Energy Regulatory Commission is defending its latest fuel prices, even as questions on the relief promised to Kenyans on the shutdown of the Kenya Petroleum Refineries Limited remains unanswered. Here's Adelaide Changole.
Consumers have been feeling increasing pressure at fueling stations over the last 4 months following persistent upward review of prices by the Energy Regulatory Commission. Since November last year, the price of a litre of super petrol has risen by 4 shillings and 78 cents from 108 shillings and 87 cents in November to 113 shillings and 61 cents in March. Diesel prices have also jumped 1 shilling and 62 cents, going from 103 shillings and 25 cents in November to 104 shillings and 87 cents in March. Likewise, kerosene prices have been on an upward trajectory, rising from 82 shillings and 79 cents in November to 83 shillings and 91 cents in March. Cumulatively, it is 1 shilling and 12 cents above November's price. And this got consumers questioning whether the closure of the refinery in September, which analysts had said would increase the quality of fuel and reduce prices by at least 3 shillings and 60 cents, had actually achieved any gains at all. But experts say the closure of the refinery had netted huge gains for consumers. In a phone interview with KTN, Engineer Linus Gitonga, a director of petroleum at ARC, said fuel would cost between 8 shillings and 14 shillings more today if the refinery was still mandated to process 40% of the fuel coming into the country. That would bring the cost per litre of super to 121 shillings and 61 cents, diesel to 112 shillings and 87 cents, and kerosene to 91 shillings and 91 cents at the very least. And this would have had serious inflationary pressure on the economy, brought about by higher transport, food, and energy prices. In fact, the CEO of Roy Howlers, Bob Patterson, insists that the closure of the refinery in Mombasa could not have come sooner. According to a 2004 study, he found that Kenyans paid 2.2 billion shillings more to buy fuel because of the refinery, something that had led to higher cost of living for the Mwananchi. But even then, both experts say the country can achieve more gains by enhancing efficiency at the port and keeping demurrage charges at a minimum. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
Right, so the refinery is closed, prices are not coming down, you be the judge.